iron out any bottlenecks hindering the realization of the project. In particular, URA should renegotiate the timelines within which to execute the contract. The audit initiated by URA has exceeded the expected contract period, and this affects reporting and recovery of revenue in the undeclared taxes. There is no proof that URA has renegotiated the contract terms to ensure that work is expedited within the new alluded to timelines. The contract expired. None of the processes has been concluded, considering that reconciliation between URA and MTN is still ongoing. With the recent period left with 1.5 months to end, only 3 of the 15 URA staff have been involved in the MTN audit, leaving no possibility for the skilling of the remaining 12 in the short period. Recommendations. That the accounting officer should engage a contractor to provide a detailed projection on when the project is expected to end and iron out any bottlenecks hindering the realization of the project. In particular, URA should renegotiate the timelines within which to execute the contract with specific outputs and associated timelines. Compliance with relevant regulatory framework on procurement management. Right, Honorable Speaker and Honorable Members, multi-year commitments without parliamentary approval. Section 22(1) of the Public Finance Management Act, Cap 171, states that a vote shall not enter into a contract, transactional agreement that binds the government to financial commitment for more than one financial year, or which results in a contingent liability, except where the financial commitment or contingent liability is authorized by Parliament. Contrary to the above, it was observed that the authority awarded multi-year contracts amounting to 53.9 billion without evidence of approval by Parliament. The Auditor General observed that failure to obtain parliamentary approval for these multi-year commitments is irregular and defeats the purpose of the Public Finance Management Act in ensuring proper public financial management and discipline. In response, the accounting officer informed the committee that URA submitted her multi-year commitments for the financial year 24-25 to the Minister of Finance, see Annex 4.6a, later to PSST requests for confirmation of multi-year commitments for financial year 24-25, and Annex B 4.6b list of procurements forming multi-year commitments. 4.6c later to Minister of Finance seeking parliamentary approval of multi-year commitments for financial year 24-25 and going forward. Management further explained that approval was obtained from the Permanent Secretary to the Treasury, PSST. Committee observes, whereas it is within the ambit of the Ministry of Finance, Planning and Economic Development to approve commitments from URA and other agencies of government, the final approval for expenditure lies with Parliament, Section 13(1) of the PFMA. Therefore, continuing to approve multi-year commitments without parliamentary approval is a breach of Section 22(1) of the Public Finance Management Act, Cap 171. The committee notes, however, that where Parliament approves the entity's budget and work plan for the financial year under review, it is deemed to have approved. It is apparent that since the entity is allowed to retain some funds, it could have resorted to the same funds, which still would be use of funds without appropriation, contrary to the law. The committee was not presented with the ministerial approval for the multi-year commitment, although the accounting office explained that permission was obtained from the PSST. Authority from Parliament was not obtained as required under Section 22 of the PFMA. In the absence of such authority, it is not clear where the entity got the money to execute the multi-year commitment. It is the duty of Minister of Finance to ensure, upon request, that the necessary parliamentary approval is obtained before entry into any execution of multi-year contracts. The committee recommends that the accounting officer should always ensure parliamentary approval is obtained for a multi-year contract to ensure compliance with the law. Performance evaluation. Review of the implementation of the entity's mandate. Right Honorable Speaker, the committee went through the entire record and finding of the Auditor General, and from page 19 through to page 22, and came up with the recommendations thereon, and then the review of the implementation of the approved budget at page 23 is canvassed through to page 26. Management explained that recruitment of 1,200 staff is in the final stages. Written assessments were completed on January 12, 2025. Oral interviews commenced on February 17th to 28th of 2025, and appointments will be effective March 2025. The procurement of 250 computers was also completed on October 11th, 2024, with the supply of laptops. Procurement of workstations and other furniture was also completed in August 2024. The progress of the procurement for the construction of Mbale office was at bid evaluation stage. The committee observes that failure to utilize all the allocated funds locks up resources for service delivery in other areas. The presence of inherent structural and operational bottlenecks encountered by URA in the implementation of planned activities affect optimal budget absorption. Recommendations. The accounting officer should see to it that all warranted funds are utilized to ensure timely implementation of the planned activities. All structural and operational bottlenecks encountered by URA in the implementation of planned activities should be assessed and eliminated to achieve optimal budget absorption. We make an analysis on implementation of unfunded activities, Right Honorable Speaker, at pages 28, 29, through to page 31, and make recommendations, make observations at page, make observations at page 30 to 31. Not all warranted funds were fully utilized on the planned activities. There continues to exist structural and operational bottlenecks that impede the implementation of URA's full mandate, and these include but are not limited to persistent strikes by taxpayers. Recommendation. Accounting officers should see to it that all unwarranted funds are utilized to ensure timely implementation of the planned activities. All structural and operational bottlenecks encountered by URA in the implementation of planned activities should be assessed and eliminated to achieve optimal budget absorption. Tax education should be enhanced and government intervention expedited to facilitate the entity in executing its mandate. Right Honorable Speaker, those are the salient features in the audit in respect of Uganda Revenue Authority Corporate Services.
Thank you, Chair.
That is, yes, corporate services. Also, for the Hansard and for Secretariat, permit me, Right Honorable Speaker, to table the original report of the Auditor General of our report on the revenue collection account of URA. With your permission, I would like to lay on table, but also provide a copy to the Speaker. This report equally, Right Honorable Speaker, raises salient issues that requires the attention of the House. I do not intend to go through the preliminary pages as well, or chapters, but take you straight, Right Honorable Speaker and colleagues, to page 6 on revenue collection trend, and the trend is analyzed at page 6 through to page 7. The authority's actual gross revenue was Uganda shillings 27.938694 trillion compared to 25.751721 trillion for the financial year 22-23, and the performance represents a revenue growth of 8.5%. However, the above performance resulted in a revenue shortfall of 1.917470 trillion, as analyzed in Table 2. The Auditor General noted that failure to attain the set revenue targets affects the overall revenue performance and cash flow performance of the government. The Accounting Office of Management responded that the shortfall of the 2.101522 trillion reported by the Auditor General, he noted it. However, on reconciliation, confirmed that the shortfall was actually as reported. A number of initiatives to enhance revenue collection are being undertaken, and that they include the following: enhanced compliance initiatives, which focused on field inspections, return vetting, alternative dispute resolution to free revenues tied up in disputes, and improved arrears management. There are also ongoing taxpayer engagements coupled with intensified enforcement actions targeting non-compliant taxpayers, opening up new stations in areas where we have had limited visibility, like Gayaza, Boyale, Kayunga. I think those ones are now put on notice. Engaging with the key sector stakeholders, including sugar manufacturers, distilleries, telecoms, and others, to discuss and improve their compliance. Reorganizing the large taxpayer office, public sector office, and medium taxpayers office to implement the sector-based approach for enhanced specialized compliance management. 6, utilizing data from external sources to bolster compliance efforts, such as the use of NSSF data and payee reviews and data on expatriates applying for work permits to assist in payee enhancement. 7, as a result of the action taken in the first 6 months of financial year 24-25, URA has collected 15.248.99 billion, that's 15 trillion, against a target of Uganda shillings 14.926.85 billion, representing a performance of 102.16%. This is a surplus of Uganda shillings 322.14 billion. Growth of 16.
Honorable, just a minute before these children go. Sorry about that. In the public gallery, we have pupils and teachers from Hill Primary School, from Kapchora. Are you the ones? Thank you so much for coming. Thank you. They are represented